Hey there, in this video we're going to take a look at formulas. Let's first start off with the blank sheet. So an entire blank spreadsheet actually with one sheet. So go ahead and pause and get that going so that you can follow along. It's important that you follow along. We're going to be taking notes on this while exploring and trying out some of these new concepts. Okay, so we're going to take a look at how spreadsheets can help us do some basic math. That's going to be possible through the power of something called a formula. So we're going to go ahead and click on B2 here. Just go ahead and type in formula. That is what we're going to explore here. So what is a formula? Now I'm inside of B3. It is an expression or an equation. The definition here can be interpreted in two ways. Okay, some people will say, hey, this is an expression. Well, it's an equation. You'll see what I mean in a short bit. Okay, it's an equation or expression that a spreadsheet can calculate. So it's really more of an expression that a spreadsheet can calculate, but the way it looks can look like an equation. And I'll explain that in a bit again. All right, so we've got that set up there. That's our definition to work off of. And now, let's go ahead and provide you with an example of an expression that you might want to solve. So we're starting out very simple. Okay, 2 plus 1. You all should know this. You should take more than a pause and realize what the answer is to this, right? The answer is 3. So if this is my expression and I want to solve it, how do I go about getting the spreadsheet to solve this for us so that we don't have to? Again, this is a small example, a tiny little number. We probably wouldn't use this for this purpose because we can do this ourselves. However, if we were looking into like, hey, what's 352.10 plus $7.21 plus 962.34 You probably can't do that from memory, recalling the numbers that I gave you and get it accurately. Neither can I, though if we had a piece of paper, we could. So again, this example that we're looking at is very simple, but think big picture and larger or more complex numbers. So how do we go about where we left off? How do we go about teaching or getting the spreadsheet here to solve this for us? So there's a couple things that you need to do. You need to set up a formula. Now, to create a formula correctly, you need a couple of parts, and you need those parts in a specific order. So we call that the syntax. So right now we're talking about the syntax, meaning we're going to learn about the parts and the order in which you write the expression so that the spreadsheet can solve it. And this is almost like a fancy way of saying in English the grammar, right? Noun, verb, adjectives, adverbs, stringing them together and organizing them correctly, you can create a sentence that makes sense. So in this case, if we want to make an expression that makes sense, we need to follow the syntax or like the grammar. Okay, the first thing that is needed is the equal sign. So we will need an equal sign. Put that right there. The next thing that we are going to need is an operator. I'm sorry, an operand. Okay. And then we will need an operator and another operand. And this is just a small example. Okay, we can kind of continue where we start with an operand, then an operator, and another operand, and another operand. We could keep chaining them, but for right now, we'll start here. So very simply, we're going to take a look at our example. If we wanted the spreadsheet to calculate this expression, we would need an equal sign. Whoops, let me backspace. So you notice right here, if I press enter, go ahead and press enter, you're going to get this message. There was a problem. It looks like your formula has an error. If you don't want to enter a formula, begin your text with an apostrophe. So it's giving us a hint here. Let's press OK. We do not want an expression at this point or a formula. So we need to move our cursor to the front. If you just press the left arrow, you're going to end up kind of roaming around and choosing cells, cell addresses. That is not what we want. Let me backspace. If it's easier, just backspace the entire thing. Start with the single apostrophe. The single apostrophe is to the left of your enter key. So look for the enter key where there's a double quote and a single quote. Choose that single quote or apostrophe. All right. Some people call it single quote, others apostrophe. Okay. So I've got that single quote or apostrophe there. Now I'm going to press equal and press enter. Now that equal sign is there. Okay, that's just kind of like a little hack that allows us to show an equal sign. Okay, then what we need is an operand. So operand is what we want to perform a calculation on. So in this case, it's the value 2. I'll just put a 2. The operator that I want is a plus sign. Oops. Oh, here I go again. That's right. This is a special symbol, so I cannot just leave it alone. So let me get rid of that. If I press enter, we get that same error. Right, there's a problem. Oh no, that's not what I want. I want the plus sign. So let's backspace, single apostrophe, plus sign. Press enter. That's what I want. And my last operand is a 1. Okay, I'm pressing enter. Now let's practice some of our formatting here. We're going to highlight this, and that's those ranges B9 to E9. And now let's go ahead and center align that. Let's center align their labels so that we know what the parts stand for. Okay, so we have an equal sign, an operand, an operator, and another operand. This right here represents the different parts that we need and the order in which we need to put them in order to get Google Sheets to calculate this expression. Okay, so let's go ahead and test it out now. We are going to place it down here. So these are just the parts. These are your notes. This is not actually putting it into action. We're going to put it to use right now. So let's select all of these cells down here. Come up to the top here, merge all. Remember, if you can't find this option here, go to Format, Merge Cells, and Merge All. Make sure you only had those selected. So now I have a giant cell, and we're going to go ahead and type our first formula here. We're going to go ahead and press an equal sign. That's what we said. Then we need the operand, so the 2. Then we follow that with a plus sign, and then we finish it with a 1. Now I am going to press enter, and as you can see, there's a 3. Beautiful. So that is being calculated automatically for us by Google Sheets. If I double click, I can get back to the formula. If I press enter to get out of that, I see the answer. Up here in the formula bar, I can also see the expression that I typed. I'm sorry, yeah, the expression that I typed in. Now, with that said, let me kind of get back to this idea of expression versus equation. Don't type this up. I'm just going to kind of like cross over in a little bit of math, just so for those of you who are really into math can kind of understand why I have these two. So an equation typically makes use of an equal sign and has the left side and the right side of the equation, right? And you can usually solve for one side. So here's an example. 3 is equal to 2 plus 1. Okay, so this would be more of an equation, right? There's nothing to specifically to solve for here, but the two sides are equal to each other, right? This over here, I'm going to put it over here. Let me center that. This has no equal sign. This is considered an expression. Equation, two sides, and they'll both equal to each other. Expression. Equation, expression. Equation, just tell yourself, has an equal sign. Expression doesn't have an equal sign. So I mentioned that because now when you look at this and you double click on it, it has an equal sign, and it has 2 plus 1. But hey, there's no left-hand side. So it's kind of not really an equation. And it's a little bit more though than an expression because it has an equal sign. If you press an enter, you see the results. So it's kind of like when you press enter, you see this side, and when you're double click and editing it, you see the right side. So this is the reason why I call this an expression slash equation, because it's kind of in no one side. It's kind of in both. Okay. All right. So that was just a side tangent there. Let's see. So what we will look at in the next clip are the other things that you can do with this. This is just a first initial introduction to the syntax and the parts that a formula typically takes. You want to make sure you're familiar with these little parts so that as I continue and I mention some of these other parts, you are familiar with the vocabulary that is used to create these formulas.